Hello everyone, welcome to the Writing Engineer. Today I'm going to be doing a tag, specifically the Newbie Tag, first started by Jenna the Dark One, and as such, I'll be referring to my phone for some of the questions. So, without further ado, here we go. Question number 1. How did you find out about AuthorTube? Well, I'd been doing a lot of research looking into various writing techniques and how to edit your novel, outline your novel, and that type of thing. And I had stumbled across BookTube, and I ended up just searching in the search bar for AuthorTube on the off chance that existed. And here we are. Number 2. What genres do you write in? Well, my first series, called the Law series, is a science fiction type of adventure. But I'm not really limiting myself to any one specific genre. I'm currently writing another novel called The Tooth Fairy Chronicles, where the Tooth Fairy gets into a whole bunch of trouble and ends up being a mystical detective. And then I have another series that's going to be more sort of a thriller series, where a physicist from a university stumbles across an international conspiracy to harness the power of Bose-Einstein condensates to make weapons. So I'm going to be kind of all over the place. Number 3. What is your preferred writing tense, point of view, and category of story? Well, my preferred writing tense is third person limited, actually. I find it offers some of the best ways to get suspense, and I'm not really all that good at writing first person yet, or third person omniscient. I feel that gives away too much of the story. And category of story, I really kind of write the story and it sort of falls into whatever category that it falls into. For example, my Law series could have been a young adult if I had deleted a lot of the character development for a few characters, but I decided to keep it, and as such, it's a standard adult science fiction novel. But the Tooth Fairy Chronicles is definitely going to be firmly in the YA category. Number 4. Are you a plotter, a pantser, or a plantser? Well, these are kind of, I guess, outdated titles. I definitely start by outlining my story. I come up with an idea in my head, and I like to put down the beginning, the middle, and the end, and then sort of flesh that all out before I start writing. It gives me a nice roadmap for my way forward, rather than kind of stumble around hither and thither. On the other hand, I do not adhere to the Brandon Sanderson style of outlining, where he writes 30 pages of outline before actually embarking on his story. My outlines tend to be more skeletal in nature, so that I have a little bit of freedom to move the story back and forth and play with ideas as they come while I'm writing. Number 5. Are you self-published, published, or yet to be published? Well, as of right now, I am yet to be published, but I will be going the self-publishing route. I believe that self-publishing is the way of the future, and to be perfectly honest, I don't like a lot of the information that I'm gathering about contracts with large publishers and the general giving up of your rights to your own story when you go the traditional route. But that's just me. Number 6. What publishing company, literary agent, and or printing company are you represented by or use? If you're not yet published, what is your dream publishing house and or literary agent? As I stated before, I'm looking to be self-published, and as such, there's a few different options. However, I'm going to be going with the wide option, I believe as it's generally termed. Therefore, I'm going to be publishing both on Amazon Kindle, Lightning Spark, and using either Smashwords or Draft2Digital as my disbursement house for many of the other ebook formats. Hopefully I can get some hard novels into Barnes & Noble and on the bookshelf someday, if my story's any good. Alright, number 8. When did you start writing? I started writing several years ago. I believe 2011 was when I got my first idea. That's actually kind of an interesting story in itself. I was actually playing around all day with the idea of alternative forms of energy, not just solar panels and wind power, but things like tidal turbines and all sorts of the strange and crazy things, geothermal energy, that type of thing. And as such, my brain was already primed for some of the ideas that I came up with. And interestingly enough, it all came out when I was taking a shower, having long ago figured out how to best wash myself. My brain was kind of on autopilot, mulling around with these ideas, and I came up with a very interesting idea of making tiny little turbines the size that would fit inside the human body and attach to arteries and veins and use the flowing of the blood to generate electricity. And the ideas for my novel just sort of flowed from that. Anyway, let's move on to the next one. Number 9, the first story I ever wrote. That's going back kind of a long way. Well, I think the first story I ever wrote was when I was in high school, and I'm going to date myself a little bit here and say it was probably in the year 1993. That makes me a little bit older than the general new author on YouTube. Anyway, it was a little ditty that I created about a man sitting on a park bench mulling over the caterpillar on his knee and creating a poem in his head about this little caterpillar, didn't know anything, and then he goes ahead and smashes the crap out of the caterpillar on his knee. It was a cute little story that I got from my creative writing class. Alright, question number 10. What authors have inspired your writing the most? Well, let's see. My 2 favorite authors, I think, are probably going to be Terry Pratchett and J.K. Rowling. The reason why I like Terry Pratchett is he doesn't take it too seriously. His fantasy novels, Discworld's ones in specific, are very irreverent and very satirical, and they're right up my alley. I like how his stories don't really have chapters in them, and it's all sort of one continuing series, but inside that entire Discworld series, there's many different main characters that he follows through, and many different storylines that you can read through, and it's nice to see how he interweaves each storyline for each separate main character through the other stories. And J.K. Rowling's Harry Potter series is one of the most detail-rich series that I have ever stumbled across. She does tend to be a little bit wordy at times, has some rather long sentences, but her attention to detail in planting, I believe the phrase is Chekhov's gun, is incredible. You know, things that were just sort of throwaway in book 2 end up being extremely important later in the series in books 6 and 7. I won't say any more here, even if you have managed to make it this far and not read the books or seen the movies. We won't do any spoilers. Okay, next question. Do you schedule your writing sessions or simply get to write whenever you can find the time? Unfortunately, I'm one of those people that has to write when I find the time. My life is extremely busy, and I know a lot of people say that their lives are extremely busy, but let me just lay out the stuff that my typical day entails. I usually get up at 5:45 and leave for work at about 6:30. Then I work for about 10 hours. When I come home, I get to have a wonderful and very loud 30 minutes of dinner before we start putting the children to bed. All 4 of them. So, you can imagine that I don't usually get a break in my day until about 8:45 at night. And my wife, God love her, does a lot of the work, and she is one of the best people that I could have been paired with. And we tend to keep the kids pretty much in line, but between that and the house and everything else, my days are pretty chock full, so I schedule time to write whenever I can find the time. Number 12. Do you type on a computer, typewriter, or write everything out by hand, or use a blend? And where do you write in general? I like to write on the computer. I've found that my handwriting can't keep up with sometimes how fast my brain is going. And when that happens, my handwriting degrades from the chicken scratch doctor's prescription handwriting that I normally have into something vaguely reminiscent of a line going across a piece of paper. So if I want to keep the ideas that I come up with in my head, I need to type them down as fast as I possibly can. So I tend to use my computer. And since I do type a lot on a computer, I went ahead and I bought a nice portable laptop computer. It only weighs about 2 pounds. In fact, I would recommend it to anybody. Check out Asus's line of Zen books. They're really super thin and really light. I think mine weighs about 2.5 pounds. I may have just said. Anyway, let's move on to question 13. What are you most looking forward to now that you're a part of AuthorTube? Well, I did just join the AuthorTube group, and I have seen some very nice and interesting videos and posts that people have made, and I've engaged a couple of people so far. So I'm kind of looking forward to that, and hopefully building up a few people that I have some contacts with, and maybe getting some people I can bounce ideas off of, and that type of thing. Hopefully I'll be able to build up some friendships, and maybe if I can hit a couple of conferences, we can meet up with a couple of people. All right? Well, those are all the questions that I have. There was 13 questions in all. I hope you guys enjoyed my answers. This is by far the longest video that I have posted. It's looking to be somewhere around 11 minutes. So, until next time, thank you very much, and good night.